All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on BIM360 Docs and Infraworks. We're going to work on combining these powerful tools for collaboration and show you some tips and tricks along the way. My name is Jason Artley. I'm an AEC technical specialist here with ATG USA. We are an Autodesk Platinum partner, and it's our pleasure to always provide these webinars for you to kind of show the tools that we have available and show you some tricks along the way to how to use them. I don't have a whole lot of PowerPoint today, so we'll jump into the software. We will start with, we'll go an overview over BIM360 Document Management, aka BIM360 Docs. Then we'll do an overview on Infraworks. We'll work on putting our Infraworks model into BIM360, and then we'll jump into BIM360 to show off how that looks in that format. So jumping right ahead, we have BIM360 Document Management, or Docs. This is a cloud-based platform to share files and view files. So anybody who has an internet access can pull up the website, view the different files that can be put on there, and make comments. We can see what version they are from different revisions, and we can put different comments and markups, take measurements. If we've got a Revit model, we can do sectioning. It's an incredibly powerful tool, and all it requires is an internet connection. So you can do this in a tablet on the field, you can use your phone or any computer. Once we have our BIM360 document management platform set up, we can assign different roles. So who can upload things, who can download things, who can view things, things like that. So whomever your administrator would be for that particular project, they would be able to invite different people to take a look at what we've got loaded. Since we are doing a Zoom presentation here, by default, everybody's microphone has been muted. If you have any questions, type them into the Zoom group chat and we will answer them at the end. So now that we've gone over the basics of BIM360, we'll take a look at Infraworks. Infraworks is a very, very powerful tool, and there's a number of different ways that you can use it. By default, Autodesk wants you to use it for preliminary civil design. It can get you to a 30% design pretty quick. However, it's very useful even for architects and drainage professionals, bridge professionals. It can do so many different things, and it all depends on how you use it. And with Infraworks, we have this ability to use our models locally or use them on the cloud with a BIM360. So with that, we'll just jump right into the software. I'm going to start with BIM360. So inside the BIM360 platform, again, web-based, so we can see exactly, a lot of people will have access to it. Here I've got different files loaded. I've got a PDF file, I've got a Navisworks NWD file, I've got a Revit file, and my Infraworks model. And within this, we can view all this stuff. So I don't have to open up Revit if I want to view this Revit model. So I can share this with anybody without needing the software. And the navigation does take a little bit of getting used to, but we have panning, zooming, orbiting tools, things like that. We can do our sections like I mentioned. Here I'll do an X-plane section. And I can move that, wrong button. I can move my section around and do full analysis of my model. I can even take measurements. And it will allow me to snap to different points in my model if I want to verify certain lengths within my model. I can measure angles, I can measure areas. There's a lot that I can do. And this is just a Revit model. So the RVT file. If this model had different sheets set up within the Revit model, they would be visible here. I'm going to close out of that one, and now I'm going to open up the NWD file. So this is the Navisworks file So everything's been put together in Navisworks and then exported. So this is even a bigger detail of my site. So here you can see I've got my civil design, I've got my Revit model, and I've got the surfaces actually came from Infraworks. So I can put it all together, just upload that one NWD file, and anybody who I invite into my BIM360 Docs will be able to see that and view it. They don't need special software. They can do our sectioning, they can do any navigation, but they can't make any changes to that model. And that's what's kind of cool about this. You know, if you're in Revit or if you're in Navisworks or sorry, Infraworks, and you're sharing your model, sometimes there is the ability to, you know, click the wrong button or make a change that maybe you don't want to do. So with this, we're able to share these models. People can do things, but they can't change them, and it won't affect the project accidentally. As I mentioned before, navigation is a little tricky, so I will go zoom window. Let's go over here real quick, and I'm going to use a cloud callout, and I can draw a simple cloud around there and put a piece of text. If I size this just right, this window should be tinted, or whatever comment you would want to make. If I save this markup and exit my markup view, if I close this, I do have my markup collection right here. So whatever comments we make to each other would be available if we put them published. So right now, these are just my notes for myself. But if we wanted to give these, make these viewable for everybody else on the team, I would just go to publish. That way we can collaborate inside BIM360. Again, no special software needed. I'm going to close this model. This does work with PDFs, DGN files. I mean, anything that you're going to need on a project, this BIM360 Docs can hold pretty well. And as I mentioned before, it handles our versioning for us. So you'll see that for this Dallas IWM Infraworks file, it's currently showing version V2. This means this is the second time I've uploaded it. It automatically keeps track of that. And you'll also notice down here that it has the markups. So both this NWD file, which I was just in, and my Infraworks file, I've created markups. This allows the other team to take a look and say, oh, something's been done. Maybe I want to go check out and see what the problem is. In addition to markups, there's also a way to assign issues. So if there's just a particular problem, we can organize all of that right within BIM360 Docs. And that would be going over here. I don't have any issues set up, but if I did, it would show up right there. Otherwise, it looks like a pretty basic interface. It is pretty easy to use. So with that part of BIM360 Docs, now I'm going to jump over to Infraworks. All right. This is the home screen of Infraworks. And it's going to act totally different if you have BIM360 Docs assigned to your Autodesk account. So Infraworks by default, if you must have an Autodesk account, and that license of Infraworks must be assigned to you. So if that account that you have, for example, mine uses my ATG USA email address, since my ATG Autodesk account has both an Infraworks license and a BIM360 license, they're going to see each other. And that's going to make these buttons at the top, the big B, be visible and usable within the software. Another reason this is important is because of Model Builder. What Model Builder does is it allows us to create a model very quickly using open source data. So if I pull this up, we have a map of the world. And all of this is going to do is allow me to select an area. For this example, I'm just going to use Dallas, Texas. I can choose my area of interest. And as long as it's within 200 square kilometers, you'll see how the text there changes to red when I get too big. I can choose my area, give it a name, and hit Create Model. And what that's going to do is it's going to take about 5 or 10 minutes, and it's going to go search roads from OpenStreetMaps. It's going to find buildings from OpenStreetMaps. It's going to take imagery from Microsoft Bing, and it's going to take that elevation and give us the elevation from the USGS at a 10-meter grid. So when my model is complete, I will have terrain with the image draped over that, and then I will have buildings and roads depending on how populated the OpenStreetMap for this area is. So I'll hit Create Model, and when I do that, it's going to email me. It'll say, hey, your Infraworks model is ready, and then we can begin. And when we do that, it's gonna, when we first get our model, so if I were to hit Create Model, this would show up, and I would click on it, and the first thing it would say, hey, do you want to save this on BIM360, or do you want to save it locally? And that is the difference. If you don't have BIM360 assigned to your account, you won't have that option, and it will just by default make them local. So you can see this icon here in the bottom of our model selection screen. This means local, and this one has cloud. This one is also cloud, but this hasn't been, I actually deleted this from the cloud. So I'm going to open up the Dallas model. Normally, if I had chosen Model Builder, it would take 5 minutes or so for this to populate, but to save us time during the webinar, I've already gone through and done that for us. So this is what we're going to get. This is the base model from Dallas, Texas. And if I zoom in, we can see we've got some buildings and we've got some roads. And Dallas is kind of flat, so you can't really see a whole lot of terrain, but I assure you it is there. And we see we've got an aerial photo here. Now, these building footprints are based upon what came in from OpenStreetMaps. And you can see if I hover over it, I can view that source right on OpenStreetMap. I'll let that load. And here's this house number. We can see it's got the address and everything. We can see who did this. So we don't really know who, or we know who, but we don't know how this was done. Was this done from a shape file, survey file? We don't really know. So we can sort of trust that or not trust it depending on the area that you're in. And the roads, same thing here. If I hover over it, now it's telling me if this is Capitol Avenue, pardon my hover settings. And if I wanted to, I could view that source feature on OpenStreetMap as well. Now it doesn't know how many lanes there are. It doesn't know if this road actually has a green space there, but we're able to take a look at it, and it makes a pretty good starting point for our project. So for this example, I've chosen this little area over here. We've got this green space. Let's put a building on this and use this for our site. As I mentioned before, Infraworks is technically used for preliminary site design or civil design. So what I will be doing is let's create some preliminary stuff. I'll take this site and we'll put a building on here and a parking lot, and we'll put some trees, we'll put some cars in the parking lot, maybe even a little retention basin. And all of this is easily done just using the simple interface. So I will choose buildings, and I will choose any one of these facades. Let's go with this one. And I can make my building accordingly. It's not very square, but I can give it a roof slope, and I can give it a nice material. Let's choose copper. I can create a parking lot, and all of this is pretty easy to use. And I can just click points. If we're having a design decision on site location or how we want things to be done, we can easily populate this accordingly and show this off. And the thing is, I'm using Infraworks now, but if I were to hit this sync button up at the top, it's going to sync that model with BIM360, which means any changes that I've made within here can then be viewed by anybody with a web browser. So as long as they're a part of my BIM360 team, they don't need to have Infraworks. So this would allow them to zoom around, take a look at what I've created, and so on and so forth. So how Infraworks can work is that it has the ability to do proposals. So what I've done here is I've taken this this site here and made this simple preliminary design. But if I were to switch to a different proposal, like the one I have already done, this is also in my same Infraworks model. You'll see that I've created a more elaborate intersection with turn lanes and added a traffic light, things like that. This is also going to sync to BIM360. So if I were to make any changes, again, all I have to do is hit that sync button and it'll go right there. Now, if I click this View Your Model in BIM360 button, this is going to open up my internet browser and take me right to my model. For the sake of saving me loading times, I've already clicked on that button, and here we go. Now, it's not the same graphics quality. If I switch to the post building, this might take a little bit of loading time. My whole model will show up again, and I'll have to go to that area that I had developed. And then, like I showed you before with the Revit tools, I have the same options. I can orbit, I can pan, I can zoom, I can also take measurements, and most importantly, I can leave comments. So if I create a comment, I'm zoom into my little target area here. This is still going to load. Depending on your internet speed, sometimes it takes a couple minutes, but this will populate. We'll be able to take a look at our model and get buy-off. So this would be handy for, if we had somebody who wasn't super technically savvy, or somebody they didn't need the software, but they just want to take a look at things. You can see our model is regenerating. It'll look good when it's done, I promise. So depending on the complexity of our model, the size of our model, our internet speed, things like that, that's all going to depend on how well this model looks. So I apologize if you're sensitive to flashing. This shouldn't take much longer. There we go. So from here, I can navigate, I can pan and zoom, I can take measurements, and I can do columns or make comments. So here, I can take a piece of text, again, orient east, west, instead. Something like that. Save that markup, and now that markup is saved within my model. And I can turn that off. So it's pretty cool. And again, you'll notice here at the top, I have this V2. That means that this model has been synced to BIM360 twice. If I were to come in here, go back to my Infraworks model, and make more changes, when I hit sync, so let's get rid of our pond, for example. Actually, let's put our pond back. I'm going to create a new proposal. Proposed site, no basin. So this is going to make a duplicate copy of my model, essentially. Now I can delete that basin. Now, when I go to sync to BIM360, you'll notice what's going to happen. It's going to check the model, and it's comparing what's in Infraworks, and it's going to compare what's in BIM360. Now we're getting this new window that's saying, hey, this proposed site no basin model element or proposal is not in the cloud. Do I want to put that there? So if I wanted, I don't have to share my entire model with BIM360. I can just do what I want. So this is pretty handy. So if I click on share my changes, this also gives me an option to describe my changes. Deleted the retention basin because the site is going to use something like that. And of course, I have my history button, which shows the last time I synced it, things like that. So I have full control and full versioning between my two software, and it's talking to each other. That's what's pretty cool about it, how we can collaborate between BIM360 and Infraworks. I'm going to close this synchronize. It doesn't take a terrible amount of time, but it would certainly take away from my webinar time. So with that, when that sync was done, this would change to V3 for my version 3. Any markups would stay there, and I would be able to come over here to view this markup. Hang on, it's got a sync here. And I would be able to say, oh, well, that's been changed. I can come over here and I can delete this markup entirely. Just to say that it's been done. So on and so forth. So it's a pretty handy way to share your model. This doesn't require you, Infraworks, it's not always perfect if you were to do it on a server. And sharing it this way is far easier than having everyone have to come to one central location or look over your shoulder while you're doing things. They can make comments right here in BIM360 Docs. And then whoever is in control of the Infraworks model can view the markups, make those changes, and simply hit that sync button. So with that, let's see. That's the basics, guys. It's not terribly complex. It works really well, and it's a great way to share your model with the rest of your design team. If you have any questions about BIM360 Docs or Infraworks, feel free to use that Zoom chat window now. Type in any questions, and I will be happy to go over them for you. Now, one thing I did want to cover, I'm going to go back to my home screen of Infraworks. And when I create that model with Model Builder, if I choose local, that doesn't mean I can't ever take it back to Infraworks or to BIM360. I always have the option, since my model is, let's go to this Duluth model, which is local. I still have it. This is working directly off of my C drive. If at any point I want to take this to BIM360, all I have to do is come up to the Publish button. And you'll notice this B button isn't going to work because it's not on BIM360. Once this is synced to BIM360, then this button will work just fine. So it's an incredibly powerful tool, and that's what I like about it. BIM360 Docs can do a whole lot, and Infraworks can do a whole lot. And how you use them together, it's kind of up to you and what your specific project needs are. For my case, I want to share my models, and I don't want to have to, this model can be half a gig by the time I'm done with it. That would be a lot to put on the server or take with me, whatever. I can just share that view to BIM360, invite somebody to take a look at it, and they can take full control, do all the zooming and panning around the table. So with that, fairly quick and easy. Quick and easy demonstration webinar today on BIM360 Docs and Infraworks. If you have any questions, Feel free to email me at jartley@atgusa.com, and I'd be happy to answer them for you. As I mentioned, ATG USA is an Autodesk Platinum partner, and we're always doing webinars and different group events to share what we know and what we're learning across the industry. If you have any ideas for more webinars, feel free to reach out to any of us, and we'll be happy to put that on the calendar. Also, if you're not don't have plans for March yet, put down on your calendar for Midwest University. This is a industry-leading conference that ATG hosts up in the Minneapolis, Minnesota area. It's going to be right around St. Patrick's Day. It'll be 2 days of learning, collaboration, and meeting fellow like-minded people within the AEC space. There'll be probably well over 150 classes to choose from. There's something for everybody. I hope to see you there. And if I don't see you at Midwest University, I hope to see you on the next webinar. Thanks for joining me today. Again, my name is Jason Artley with ATG. We'll see you next time.